Today is going to be a bit of a more lazier video, but I think it's still important nevertheless. I made I guess you could call it an anime opening for Thunderbolt Inferno a couple months ago, but I'm not going to be using that because, for one thing, there's a bunch of characters in it that they're no longer going to be in the series. And also, I think that the actual opening itself is pretty bare bones. It's not very good. It's just very average, and I want to try and make something better than average. So firstly, I'm going to watch through the whole thing and kind of explain what's going on. Then I'm going to do a shot-by-shot breakdown of everything going on in the actual opening. First is the logo. This is just to fill up time. That's everyone involved in the series. With a shot of... This was meant to be the title because the Earth gets struck by lightning and then is put into flames. These are just the characters of the series, pretty much. That's the ship going off. It gives another rundown of every character shot, which is a bit redundant, but I guess it's more detailed than the first few frames that you see. But you can tell that I'm just trying to put the minimums of what goes on. Then you only see that character for like 1 second. Then it shows more characters. The thing I don't like is that it just shows a bunch of characters doing random things, and none of these scenes are connected in any way. The only one is this, because those two characters are connected. Then it shows off the characters yet again, using their special attacks, I guess, while just running nowhere. And yeah, it's these main 8 characters that show up mostly in the opening. Then it shows the villains with the characters yet again. Except these are the only parts of like animation I think actually linked together pretty well, because they do transition into each other. Then the opening just ends, and I think this is probably the most poorly drawn shot in the entire thing. So to get to why I think this isn't good enough, I need to break down every scene and just like pretty much explain it. So the first part is just the logo. This is the worst thing ever. I don't know what I was thinking. I think it was because originally when drawing this whole animation, it was supposed to just be low effort. But obviously I can't use an initially low effort animation for a high effort animation. So then it just gives the names of everyone. I don't think everyone here is even involved in animation anymore. This shot is alright, where it zooms out. I do like this, with the lightning striking the planet, and then it encapsulates it on fire with the logo. But I think transparency effects would have made this look a lot more prettier. Or put more frames into actually making the planet zoom out drastically, just to show the scope of what's going on. This was too fast. If you break down how fast it goes straight to here, which I don't think it even makes sense in a zoom perspective. But I guess it's fine for what it does, but it could be better. The logo itself was made by Halo. It's a pretty good logo, I'd say. I would still use this, probably. Oh, and one thing before mentioning everything else is that this is shot in a different aspect ratio to other animations, because this was supposed to be on Scratch, but there are too many frames for it to be. So this was just a keep being pushed by Zack. This one looks a bit odd, because they just stand still after he does it. And this is what I was talking about. I think for this first part, these random shots could have worked, because they're showing the characters that are most likely to be together, with Zack and Keith, Kevin and Antonia. Lumi, I guess by herself. This was apparently supposed to be when she leaves home. And then Lilac is alone as well, except it's contrasted by her dire situation. But then these two don't make sense. It's just Sarah being crazy, and Bearer's just looking backwards. I think I ran out of time of thinking about what I was supposed to draw. So those two don't make any sense. The ship itself looks pretty horrible. I don't like this design for the ship anymore. I like the idea of it looking like a whale, but the later versions of the ship had wings and like a fin, which I think works way better. Plus, for a shot of the ship, why is it so quick? It just goes off before you can even know what it is. So this was supposed to be lifted from. I hate this shot. Actually, this shot is alright of him just looking into the camera, but it kind of drags for a bit too long. And this zoom looks horrible. For one thing, this doesn't even make sense. When is Akeef ever in the moon with Lilac? With the there's no. There's also one thing about the animation I don't like is that the colors are all just plain. They're the same colors throughout the whole thing. The colors are never darker or anything. There's no tints to it, which I don't like. And also, the shape, their faces don't look right. He looks like a doll here, and Lumi's face is like way smaller than Lilac's. I mean, no wait, this isn't Lumi. Oh, it's too early in the morning. This isn't Lumi. This is Lilac. Lilac's face is way smaller than Akeef. I meant this is Akeef and this is Lilac. I don't know why I called it Lumi. Never mind. And then it just does this really weird camera pan. This drawing of Kevin is alright, but I don't like how I don't like how random this is. It's just him out of nowhere with like a weird background, and then it looks like he's summoning these three. I do like these pictures, but this isn't appropriate. This should have been later, with it showing all 8 characters. Because here it only shows me, Antonia, and Lumi for no reason. Because I couldn't think of them in any other shot, so I just put them here, which is pretty atrocious, I guess. And speaking of, I kind of like the smears here in the animation, but it looks pretty ugly, and there's no interesting camera angles in any of this. It's just her looking straight into the camera and doing this, and then she turns normal. She doesn't even look normal here. Her hair doesn't make sense. The later character designs for Sarah is way better than whatever nonsense this is, where her hair actually is long. Here it's pretty short, and there's the weird bump in the top. Then there's a shot of Beerus playing video games. That one's okay, but again, like every shot, these don't make sense. Why is it the only thing about these shots that makes sense is the timing of the music with the shots. That's the only thing that makes sense with these shots, the timing. But it doesn't really convey any narrative or anything. Like, openings sometimes show the characters going somewhere, or just like shows what happens in the actual show, but in the opening instead, like a brief summary. This is just them hanging around, and it's just random shots that don't link with each other. The only thing I would say is that the shots kind of show what kind of characters they are. Except no, they don't, because this doesn't show anything about Akeef. Kevin's one is a magic card. These two are given like weird ones. Sarah's one doesn't. It just shows her dual personality thing, I guess. And for Beerus, he doesn't even play games in the final thing, so this doesn't make sense anymore. Zack probably has the most decent one, but it doesn't transition well to it. Like everything else, it just goes straight to him doing this, where he just like relaxes and it goes to him on flames. I don't remember why it does that. It doesn't make any symbolic sense. I mean, his element is fire. Like, his main element is fire, but why would he be internally of this hot-blooded, fiery mess? If anything, his character, funny enough, his character isn't hot and passionate in the traditional sense. He's more secure, like a giant stone wall. So this doesn't make any sense. Plus, he doesn't drop down onto the floor properly. It's just like all the amount of frames from here to there is the same amount of frames. Plus, the camera composition is boring again. Then, this part is the stupidest. It shows, so first of all, Sophie's character doesn't even wear sunglasses anymore. And it shows her for like 1 second. That's it. She shows up for 1 second. What the hell is the point of this? I know I was supposed to put a character somewhere in this. Then she does a T-pose for some reason, which she wouldn't even do. She's actually meant to be one of the more important characters. So what the hell is it that she's just in this anime opening for like 1 second? It's stupid. Then it shows her. This was okay while it lasted, but it looks pretty unnatural, I think. Plus, the school isn't even in the actual show anymore. It was meant to show all 3 colors because the school was meant to be based off like the school I went to for secondary, But nah, it's a pretty horrible concept, I guess. It was meant to be like a large academy with like, so that big pencil thing. And I'm trying to pause it. So that was meant to be, so this was meant to be a different plot where there are these characters trying to defend the planet they were in. And this would be one of their weapons. I guess, a giant pencil. It shoots missiles. It makes sense in context, I swear. Then it shows... This shot is a bit interesting, but it should have been capitalized on more, I think. It's too quick, and it's for characters that don't even matter in the long run anymore. So this is what I was talking about. These characters aren't in the series anymore. Sarah and Punit aren't in the series anymore. This is Dardle. He's not in the series anymore as well. These characters, it's not like these characters are bad, but I never really wrote too much about them. And also, they don't make, it doesn't make sense to put them into the plot anymore. Yeah, he was meant to be a chemist, I guess, who could make nuclear bombs. But it's just a random shot of him. It's just saying, now we have to see all the side characters. And then it shows all the side characters. This one was ran deep. I guess it shows the bare minimum of what he's about. It's like, oh, he can accelerate the growth of trees. And he makes trees in like a matter of seconds. And then is Nikhil, who gets sucked into a portal because, oh, foreshadowing, he's going to turn into a villain. He's not even a villain in the final thing anymore. And then these two, who are meant to take... I don't get this though. I think the colors were meant to go well, but they don't. It was just meant to be like a contrast of bluish and yellowish colors with these two characters and their clothes. He wears purple though, but blue. I guess purple's kind of similar to blue. These two aren't in the show yet either. It's like, I don't know. I really like this character. This one's Giovanni. His character design is great. It's just I can't think of a reason why he would even be in a story anymore. I would probably bring him back for a different story though. And as for Tim, yeah, I don't get why he would be here either. And then Kiara and Danielle, these characters, this shot's kind of alright, but yeah, it's just another random shot. She looks up, it goes up through a mountain to her, and there's like a duality between these two where they used to be former friends, but now she's looking down on everyone else, but she thinks everyone should take like the traditional hard route, something like that. I never fleshed out the story, and you can tell why I'm not going to keep them in the story because of that. Unfortunately, I feel bad that I couldn't keep all the characters in the story, but I feel like it would be bloated if there were too many of these characters. You just want to focus on the main 8. Then, okay, MTS is like one of the only main characters staying. I mean, side characters. His character design is different though. He no longer wears a red tie. Like a lot of shots, it doesn't link, but this shot of him on the train was meant to be a plot point where this character literally spends all his time on a train and nowhere else. I would say it's still the best shot out of all of the other shots because at least it has some transparency. But if I could have been way more creative with how I did this, like say it zooms into a train. In fact, another animator, I think he goes by I forgot his name because I don't know his actual YouTube name. I'll link it in the description. Because it's like, well, he has a different alias to how I talk to him compared to. But, so what he did was that he made the train from the outside and it zooms into it really quickly into him inside of the train. And it's a bit quick, but I could do that, but slower. Though, I'm guessing I didn't have time to do that. So I just settled for this very basic looking shot of him on a train with this weird transparency effect, which is probably the best thing about the shot anyway, the transparency. It doesn't have shading though, I guess. This part is... Usually when I watch this opening again, I always skip here. I skip to this part because this is when everything gets at least a bit better and the best part of the song, I guess. So this was Arif, who's like the creator of the universe, who was always drawn in like shadows. So you never saw what he looks like. But he looks visually similar to Riyadh. So it has like this interesting flash between the two. And then Riyadh just listens to his headphones, I guess. Though, yeah, it's pretty guilty of doing everything every other shot does. It's just a shot. It's just, hey, look at this character. So, okay, so these are like the first frames of the animation I ever drew. I never mentioned how wonky the character art looks in this one. Plus, I put anti-aliasing, so you can tell that there's just like the colors aren't even filled in properly. So, yeah, that's something I wouldn't do anymore. Yet again, the character colors are pretty horrible. There's no tints, or there's no shading, there's nothing. It's just plain colors, and they're just so bright that it doesn't go well on the eyes. With the sky being a bright green, I mean, well, no, not the sky. The sky is a bright blue, and the grass is just a bright green. It doesn't look good. So I still like this part of the animation the best though, because it's the most interesting animation basically of the characters using their attacks. Though it's funny because, so actually before I get into this, in the background you can see all the characters running, which I've been told is kind of funny because it's like they all do. So one thing I was trying to keep consistent, his shoe isn't colored in. What I was trying to keep consistent is the way they run is different, except not really. I guess she just rides on Beerus, which is funny. Kevin flies, same with Zack. Akeef runs in the front. He's the tallest one, except the modeling here is out of whack. Akeef is way too tall, and Sarah runs like a cheetah. She runs like an actual dog, which is really funny. So getting back to the actual attacks, it's probably the most interesting shots I guess. It's like characters using attacks in front of the secondary background, and they keep adding on the characters one by one. But I think it stays on the shot for too long, because there's 8 characters. You do this 8 times. I think it would have been more interesting if it was just plus the characters jump into the shot like this each time. So it would have been more interesting if it didn't have this, and it was just characters like doing something else. I was picturing them like going somewhere. So like, let's say it's a shot of them just going on the ship and then traveling. While you also see in the foreground, I guess, the characters using all their special attacks. As for the special attacks themselves, I think they're decently animated, but not all of them are even in the series anymore. Like, Akeef never uses his water powers this way. I don't even know what this is supposed to be. If anything, every time he does, his eyes glow. Here he's just all blue. I don't even know why I made it like this. Zack does, I guess he does sometimes explode. So then, I like Kevin's one, but I think there's not enough oomph to it. Because I'd say throughout this whole thing, the animation doesn't have very good smears. It's just very basic animation. There's no good dynamic, exaggerated poses or anything. And the camera angles are so boring in this. So he uses this energy beam, I guess. I like how Antonia's punch syncs with the music here. These two are funny. Because Lumi does this weird... Okay, first of all, let's talk about their pose. So this... What the hell is this? I'm sorry to Sarah, because every time I draw her in this... Well, there are 2 Sarahs, actually. This one is Sarah... Actually, I should point that out. There are 2 Sarahs in this. This one is the... Okay, so this Sarah is not the same as the other Sarah. This Sarah is the one... So this one is... I don't know, they're just different Sarahs, okay? If you want clarification on which Sarahs they are, you'd have to ask me directly. But this Sarah... I don't know why, but she is not drawn well in this whole animation. That's my fault. I was still trying to get how every character looks. So, yeah, Lumi doesn't even do this, usually. At least I've never drawn her doing this yet. This spin. I couldn't think of what she should do, honestly. That's why I made her just spin into a tornado. Her power is wind, but it doesn't even look like wind. This is like, what is this? What is this supposed to be? Then, this is probably my favorite one, because this is the smoothest, I think, the smoothest animation of all of them. And it's the most interesting. She gets into a pose as the energy glows around her, and she glows a bit. I like how when she falls down, she jumps a bit up, like just a bit, before going into the pose. The pose itself is fine, I think. She doesn't. I guess I should have drawn her looking better. She doesn't look like this anymore, but I guess this for the animation, it was the best I could do. Her nose doesn't even align well with her mouth. Oh my god, everyone is so off-model in this animation. I can't believe people would even think this is like good at all or anything. So for this one, oh my god, Barris, what did I do to you? His nose is not, or snout is way too big here. So I don't know. I guess these two are fine. I like the idea of Barris using this giant atomic buster attack out of his mouth snout thing. Lilacs one, I feel like it should have been longer because it feels too weak when it's a giant energy ball, and she disappears too quickly. So last shots, these are the only shots that actually coherently link to each other, which are the most interesting. I should have put this earlier, I think, or at least dedicate some scenes into them traveling, and then probably shots for the villain, because the villains only show up briefly here, which doesn't make any sense. So Barris looks upwards. This is the most interesting shot, probably, or one of the most interesting, where initially this was the old backstory where Barris was kind of like a prisoner, like a, well, I guess he wasn't an actual prisoner at first, but he became somewhat like a subservient to Slime, who's over here. Oh, it goes really quickly. Yeah, this is Slime, who's meant to be drawn like Nightmare Fuel because she's meant to be like super scary. So Barris was like, it's kind of like an abusive relationship where because of this, Barris was kind of shackled to her will, which is why but he was emotionally manipulated into thinking that she was like the only path for him, which is pretty horrible because you never want to. That's like a toxic relationship right off the bat, which is why later Barris gets out of that relationship. But at the time where it was, at the time of that taking place, he was stuck, and he couldn't find a way out because no one would support him. So that's why when he looks up, it gradually gets more and more light because he thinks this is the answer. But then it goes dark again when you see the true colors of what's actually behind his hope. His hope is this monster. It's not a very good hope. Which flashes into Antonia. I guess, I don't know, I like the flash into this. It doesn't necessarily make sense to link the two shots together. But I do like how, when you think of it in a different way, the destruction caused by Slime permeates in pretty much destruction throughout the universe, because Slime is like the character who destroys everything around her. And one of the consequences to people like that would cause a city to be in ruin like this, which is where Antonia grew up. Antonia's character in the series grew up in like this dystopian destroyed world, which is how her character got so tough. I like this parallax scrolling. It's not so interesting. I think a zoom would have really made this better, but I like the scrolling because it's like you can see the background is scrolling at different speeds. It's not fast enough though. I mean, it's not slow enough. It's too quick. This shot could have been, if I spent more time on it, this shot could have been way more interesting. And then, I guess this is Antonia's main thing, where her eye goes all red because she kind of explodes into this energy where she's surrounded by these flames. You can just barely see it's her, I guess, with the teeth there. But then there's some black shadows covering it because she's hiding her true intentions. But then when it goes away, it's Zack instead of Antonia because they have like this similar tendency. So this is actually not linked to the previous shot of him on fire. This shot of him on fire was meant to be him. I guess, the destruction of his planet. I think they're similar things because Antonia kind of witnessed the same thing, but I don't know. I guess in a narrative sense, it doesn't make any sense. But in the visual standpoint, it makes sense. Where the fire in Antonia is her own powers and fueling it. But the fire in Zack is seeing what happens to other places, which he doesn't want to see. He doesn't have any personal like fire in him though. But it looks the same visually, which is why they close into each other. Which then calms down into Lilac, who's crying. But it's like, I do like this because you get the same geometric proportion of their faces, which is why I like the shots linking together like that. So this is Lilac, who's tormented by the past of this villain, who's Aravar. I guess for a first opening, it's interesting that you don't see the villain at all, except for this very brief glimpse. But it would have, I think it could have been interesting to take a different approach to it. Also, whoever's messaging me, please stop messaging me because I'm almost done. And I'm not bothered to turn off Google Chrome. So this show is interesting because it fades from the bright red to a dark black, which then turns into a slightly darker red, which then fades into a blue, because it's like, so she kind of drowns her sorrows, I guess, which then shows Lumi, who kind of, she seems to do the same thing in terms of medicating her mind, where she surrounds herself in this aura, or like, kind of surrounds herself in her own bubble. But then it shows Akeith doing the same thing, because visually, he has similar, they have similar powers, I guess. They're very spiritual characters. Like, they use the earth around them. Well, not earth as in, this series doesn't have an actual earth as in the planet earth, but earth as in planets are made of earth. But it also shows that they kind of keep their troubles and problems inside of like, it's like when you scream underwater, basically, which is what I was trying to convey. You're at peace, which is contrasting with Antonia's rage, which is in utter like fuel burning fire, or Lilach's like torment, which is psychologically damaging, but it's also like this harsh red that she can't escape from. But Lumi can kind of, I guess, take her troubles out into the water, I guess, which makes more sense with Akeith, because his power is actually water. But because their powers are so similar, I like the shot of them. So I really like the shot of them actually together, because it has that split screen thing. I guess I'm not sure I even did the split screen properly. And then they smile together, because, well, these characters were meant to be like a team initially, though now I don't really see them together that much. These last drawings were meant to be like official portraits of them, because I couldn't think of what to do for the last few seconds. I won't lie, they don't look very good. I hate Kevin's one. Did I used to draw Kevin like this? He looks really bad. Let me find. I don't like any of these. Zach looks... yeah, it's like... the shape of his body is too square. What the hell is this? This is so bad. How could I have ever thought this was a good idea? Their bodies are just squares. The hat is so small. The eyes... Look at that mouth. This isn't Kevin. What was I thinking? Antonia's the only one here that looks good. Okay, this is the only drawing of Sarah that's good in the whole animation. And it's not even... It's still the horrible hair. Lumi's one is alright, but I think the hand is too large. And her face looks a bit unsettling. What the hell's... Okay, Beerus' one is funny. He looks like he's saying like, hey, I'm walking here. And then there's Lilach, who's... This one's creepy. Oh, I do know... There is one thing I like about these, though. Like, the background to each of these images kind of... I don't know, they kind of foreshadow a bit about them. I don't know if I'm bothered to go through all of them. Nah, I'm not. The Lilach's one's the only one that's interesting, I guess. Because it's like, you could see, it's kind of like a blood-stained body. Because her brother's dead, basically. That's why she was crying earlier. Her brother's dead. And she's kind of putting that baggage behind her. But she can't. You can see there's a blood-stained image there. Except you probably wouldn't know that's a person unless I told you, because it's drawn so poorly. Then, for no reason whatsoever, Kevin using an electric beam. And then, what is this? What is this? This is so bad. Look at this. Just look at this drawing. This is so bad. So, yeah, that's basically why I don't like this animation very much. It's very meh. You get it does the bare minimum. That's why I don't like it. I think I could do better than this, basically. So that's why I'm not using this animation anymore. And it's showing how I look at my own work. This is how I look at my own work when I've made it before. I look at it again, and I think, how can I improve to it? And how is this bland? How is this not good? I don't think it's necessarily a good thing. How I'm ripping into this animation so much. But I can do that, I guess, because it's mine. It's like, I'm perfectly content with improving from this. But I still wouldn't use this one again. So, yeah, that's basically why I wouldn't use this one. I think I was going to make another point. I don't know. I think I basically went through everything about this animation. And also, someone keeps messaging me on WhatsApp, so I guess I should go check that. But yeah, I don't like this animation very much. Stay tuned for the rest of that other animation.